Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellencies, the Ministers, Your Excellencies, the Ambassadors, Honorable ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is indeed for me a great pleasure to welcome this meeting being held today for the first time in Jeddah at the ministerial level to discuss and approve the Convention of Makkah al-Mukarramah among the OIC member states on cooperation in the field of implementation of anti-corruption law, a document that has been debated by the senior officials at their preparatory meeting held from 5 to 7 December 2022 at the headquarters of the General Secretariat. As you all know, this convention takes place in implementation of resolution number 948 LO of the Council of Foreign Ministers on strengthening cooperation among the OIC member states in the field of the fight against corruption. As a reminder, the said resolution, which invited the General Secretary to elaborate a draft convention on the fight against corruption within the framework of the OIC, has also called for the implementation and establishment of intergovernmental group of experts to examine the said draft convention before its submission to the first ministerial meeting for approval in preparation for its presentation for adoption at the 49th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers to be held in 2023 in Nouakchott, Republic of Mauritania. Similar to other international organizations such as the United Nations that have concluded international conventions on the fight against corruption, the OIC, guided by the principles and objectives as stipulated in the Charter, in particular Article 18, which provides for cooperation in the domain of the fight against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, organized crime, trafficking, money laundering, and human trafficking. Thanks to the spirit of consensus that prevailed at the level of the group of experts under the theme of a battle against corruption, the member states have reached agreement on a consensual text of a draft convention that is submitted today to your August session under the patronage of Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As a matter of fact, the adoption of this convention will enable to add a new brick to the institutional edifice of the legal system in the OIC, inasmuch as it will contribute to the strengthening of the channel of communication within the OIC framework and ensure at the same occasion the taken in charge of the exchange of information and investigation between the authorities of the OIC member states. It will allow, on the other hand, the extension of the action against corruption and to limit its nefarious impact on the Islamic societies. This is a phenomenon that drains the economies of the member states and impedes the efforts of sustained development. As you all know, corruption today has become a question to which the member states accord particular attention in view of its grave consequences on our economies. It contributes also to the wasting of national resources and threatens the future of our generations. The OIC, being aware of the dangers of corruption and the multiplicity of its manifestations in a turbulent world that is under multiple threats, the OIC wishes to support all efforts for peace and progress through the convention presented to you to provide a legal framework to respond to the needs of Islamic action in this field. The OIC will make sure to fulfill its international responsibilities through cooperation in the field of penal justice. This convention constitutes the most appropriate framework to prevent and fight against corruption through an efficient organism that will be in charge of implementation of the law through international cooperation. This will favor undoubtedly a culture of integrity, transparency, responsibility, and good governance as one of the main objectives as stipulated in the Charter of the organization. Moreover, these are well-established principles in the Sharia and international law. The member states have an absolute and imperative need of such a system to strengthen the principles of transparency, to perpetuate the foundations of good governance as established by the international bodies, to include it in the international statutes such to respond to the aspirations of the world at large. We at the OIC are fully aware of the amplitude of the task achieved by the experts during the first and second meetings to achieve a final formulation achieved and approved by the member states. In this perspective, we launch an appeal to all the member states to commit to the fight against corruption and ratify the Makkah al-Mukarramah Convention of the OIC member states so as to better cooperate in the field of the implementation of the law and the fight against this affliction in conformity with the legal systems and in conformity with the aspirations of the member states in this field. It is my great hope is that this meeting will approve the draft convention already approved by the senior officials so that it may be presented to the foreign ministers for approval at its 49th session due to be held in Nouakchott in the coming year. As a conclusion, I would like to express my due thanks and gratitude to the custodian of the two mosques, King Salman Abdulaziz Al Saud, and to His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince and Prime Minister, for the warm welcome by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, our present meeting, and for the generous support that they extend to the organization and cooperation. I wish you full success in your deliberations. Wassalamu alaikum.